Okay, so the best scene in this episode was the last scene. Raquel proved that she is that gangster chick. When she off Juliana, I don't know. It just gave me vibes of one of my favorite scenes from one of my favorite movies.
Rock the block, baby.
Hey, what's up and hello? This is D. Chris Nicole giving you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. And this is my review on Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Season 3, Episode 8, Reckonings. So Rock is at her house and she hears her drunk ass brother Lou outside telling all of Forest Hills queens that they are unalivers and they need to know who she is and they definitely need to know who he is. So at this point, we all know that Rock is selfish as hell and only cares about herself. Lou is going to be dealt with one way or the other. Whether it's from his own hands, which I don't know if they're really going to take it there, or it's going to be another way. But we will probably see before this season is over. Then we have Kanan, and he's with Ronnie and the old heads Pop and Snaps. And they offer Kanan a drink, and Kanan refuses. And they said, "Yo, father, DEFCON didn't drink or do anything either. Hell, we barely saw him with girls." And I'm like, that's because he didn't like girls. Okay. Rock was his cover, wasn't his real girlfriend. So then they ask Kanan, does he want to be feared or respected? And he says, you can't have one without the other. So this is the start of them putting little nuggets in his ear, pretty much about how the only way he can really survive out here is to be feared, be respected, and also understand that when he has competition, like for example, his mother being his competition, he has to make sure that he's ahead of the competition or he ends the competition. So Rock calls Marvin over to talk about Lou, who is drunk, sleeping in Kanan's bed. And Rock tells Marvin, your brother's about to F over all of us. And Marvin says, I feel like Lou can get better because I got better. And Rock said, everyone doesn't want to get better. And so at that point, she talks to Marvin about finding out what Kanan is getting into because he is dealing with Pop and Snaps, and she wants him to see what the hell is going on. But sidebar, while we see Lou going down this rabbit hole of despair and drunk shit, why didn't Lou leave New York? What is his reason for staying in New York? Like, if he was so fed up with his family and all the stuff that was going on in New York, why didn't he take all of his money that he had left and just leave? I don't understand that. And maybe, hopefully, the writers will explain that. But I just don't understand why he continued to stay in an area that he felt like no longer served him, especially when he was in the outs with the head of the family, which is his big sister, Raquel. But that's just me talking out loud. So next we have Juke and Aisha, and they have a sleepover, and Juke opens up to Aisha about what happened with Nicole. And the more and more that we see the bond between Aisha and Juke and whatever is going to happen to Aisha, because something's going to happen to her, I think it's going to crush Juke even more and make her even more of a dark soul. So like I said, with Pop and Snaps, they're talking to Kanan outside. Well, the guy is talking to Kanan outside and pretty much tells him that, your mother has a connect and she is now your competition. And your mother is really good at this work. And Kanan's like, so am I. No, you not. Not yet, at least. You're a piece of shit. And you, like Juke said, are a little boy trying to be a grown ass man at this point. So Mama Thomas comes over to babysit Lou, but of course she has her hand out first to get money to babysit him. Then when Lou wakes up, child, she done made this burnt toast and eggs for him. Doesn't watch Lou. Lou just leaves. As long as she had her money, she didn't care. And one thing that's kind of annoying me with the Power franchise, are we going to have at least one caring mother who's selfless? doesn't want their child involved in the game. Like, do we have any mother that's going to be that way on the Power franchise? I mean, just one. I mean, it's like every single mother that we have had has been a part of the game, either taught their son about the game, put them in the game in some kind of way, or they're addicts. Like, I'm just like, I'm over this. Like, I want to see one positive mother in the bunch. I'm just saying. So, Rock meets with the racist guy, Terry, who only wanted to work with his own. And Terry says that he wants Hong's deal. And Rock is like, your deal is your deal, homie, and that's where it stands. And he said, okay, well, then we're not doing business. You sure about that, Terry? But moving on. So Juke is in rehearsal and finds out that she was selected as the lead. And of course, Hater Crystal is pissed. And she makes sure that she calls Kanan and makes sure that she is making out with him when Juke and Aisha leave the building. How convenient. And of course, she stares at them while she's kissing Kanan or after she kisses Kanan. Okay, whatever. We're just gonna go with it. So Juke is ready to beat Kanan's ass, and Aisha's like, it's not worth it. Why do I care about them when I have a real friend in you? Real sweet part, real sweet scene. But next, Marvin follows one of Kanan's drivers and finds out that Kanan is actually pushing the H. And at the same time, Rock finds out from her connect that she has competition, and the guy puts Kanan's work in front of her and says to her, you need to make an example of whoever it is out here who's your competition, or pretty much the deal is off. Captain Burke visits Nicole's father and pleads his case that Burke would never have given anything to Nicole or anyone else. And then this is where a lot of exposition starts to come in the show. Nicole's father says, I was skeptical at first about assuming Burke would do that, but then when the other officer came to me saying that, Burke pretty much was damaged goods, I started to believe it. And Captain Burke is like, what officer? And then all of a sudden, he gets that aha moment and he's like, Malcolm Howard. And I'm just like, ugh, okay. But this is pretty much the point where Captain Burke is now going to pursue Howard, and he's really going to dig into his past and who he really is. So Lou is acting like he is on an unalive mission and tells the club owner to give Famous his tape. And he's truly acting like, his life is over. It's just a done deal. And so Marvin gets word from the club owner what happened with Lou, and Rock comes in, pretty much telling Marvin, showing Kanan's work, saying, we got competition out here. And Marvin's like, that's Kanan's work. That's what he's pushing. So now it starts the son versus mom competition. And so at that point, Rock is like, well, where the hell is he getting this work from? But Marvin is like, let's not focus on that. Let's focus on our little brother. He's hurting. And she's like, F Lou, F mama, we have work to do. And, Marvin is just like, that should be our priority, is our brother. And I'm like, Rock priority is Rock. Rock ain't even there for her own son. So why the hell do you think that she would be there for Lou? But let's move on. So Howard goes to talk to his fellow dirty cop about how Marvin is connecting all the dots, and they are about to make a move on him in regards to the lady that was off in Westchester and just the whole connection with the Italians. And so I personally think, in my opinion, there may be a twist if the writers write it this way. Maybe Marvin is not going to take the fall for that, and maybe Lou will. Maybe that's how they'll do it. I don't know. But if I'm right, you heard it here. Maybe Lou will actually take the blame versus Marvin, since Lou is no good anyways. But y'all let me know what y'all think about that. So Famous gets to the club and he gets his tape, but he makes a deal with the club owner to use the studio while Lou is gone, as long as he helps around, in the club. But maybe if Lou is gone forever, Famous will take over the studio. Possibly. If that's another storyline they're going to try to push, is that Famous kind of rededicates himself to music and he runs the studio now that Lou is gone. Kanan is in bed with the snake Crystal, and he gets a visit from the social worker saying, I heard that you're not staying at home from your mother, and if you are not home within 24 hours, you will be arrested. So Rock meets with Snaps and Pop and pretty much tells them to stay the hell away from her son. But Snaps and Pop is like not backing down and saying, we created this game, bitch. And Rock pretty much stand 10 toes down and says, she said what the hell she said. And at this point, it's war between Rock, Snaps, and Pop. They claim at this point it's beyond Ronnie, it's beyond Kanan. She came in here to challenge us old heads, so the game is on. We're gonna see how this leads. So Lou is pissy drunk again, and it's just annoying the hell out of me. Like his character is so annoying at this point that I'm just like, I don't care what happens to him right now. I just don't feel sorry for him. He going around, sitting up there with his hammer and putting stuff in the air. Just he's just annoying me. So at that point, Kane and Ronnie go to social services, and Ronnie confronts the social worker. And I guess it's supposed to scare her, but I don't know how that's going to go over well, especially with Ronnie being, what I'm saying, someone who just got out of jail not too long ago. But let Ronnie tell it, she won't mess with Kanan anymore, but we'll see. So then I'm sorry, I said Jukebox. Jukebox gets jumped in the train station. And then just randomly, one of the girls says, you ain't making it to rehearsal today. And I'm just like, come on, y'all, with the exposition. Like, the girl didn't need to say that. First of all, especially back then in New York City, it could easily happen that a random act of violence could happen with anyone. So her getting jumped would have been enough and her protecting herself. And literally later on, she just finds out and she puts two and two together that it's Crystal. Why do we need to have the girl saying, you ain't gonna make it to rehearsal today like some cartoon villain? Like, I need for them to stop force feeding the audience everything through dialogue. Like, your audience is smart, damn it. We can figure it out. Stop trying to force it. But yeah, she ends up getting jumped. So she ends up getting to rehearsal late. And of course, at rehearsal, before she gets in there, Crystal's like, if she makes it today. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like you guys are trying to spell out everything. And then at that point, when Juke gets in there, Juke doesn't say anything about it. But Juke does confront Crystal, pretty much saying that your friends are some punk ass bitches and so are you. But she gets to it, even though she scratched up, her hand is messed up. She gets to it like she doesn't miss a beat. So at that point, this group is not going to work because they have that one toxic girl, Crystal. I just want to know if something's going to happen to Crystal by the hands of Juke. That's all I'm pretty much curious about. So Rock goes to Pernessa, and again, some more exposition. She goes to Pernessa to get info, and while Pernessa says she ain't got nothing and she's not going to say anything, she just so happens to mention Juliana, the bodega lady, being with Ronnie. And then when Rock is leaving, she tells Pernessa to stay safe. And guess what? That pretty much means she won't stay safe. We're going to see that Pernessa is going to leave us very, very soon. So Terry gets caught up with Marvin, and pretty much Marvin blackmails him to keep the deal that Rock gave him. So then that way, of course, they can use his trucks and all of that stuff. And then Rock goes to Joaquin and tells Joaquin that Juliana is a shady ass bitch. And he realizes it, but he said he needs to confirm from his own people if this information is true. And so Rock said, okay, you let me know, but I still got to do what I got to do. And so at that point, though, in their conversation, Rock says Juliana was never a timid girl. She just needed her husband out of the way to become her real self. And while that's great, I guess that she said it, I would have preferred that they found a more subtle way to show us through Juliana's actions and things. Not just 1 minute she's timid with a black eye, and then the next minute she all made up, acting like she the baddest chick in Queens or in New York, period. I would have preferred them show it to us versus just finishing who Juliana was in one line. I didn't really like that. So Marvin meets with Gerald and his girls, and Gerald starts talking to Marvin, asking him questions, claiming it's for the article when it comes to Jukebox. And he questions Marvin about Bulletproof Records being connected with the mafia, since Bulletproof Records was owned by his family. And then all of a sudden, Marvin is starting to realize that Gerald ain't shit, and realizing that, he's talking to the police. And I'm just like, you dumbass. Again, your heart being bigger than your brains. And he's like, what I'm saying, you talking to the police like you messing up. So at that point, we already knew this. It was writing itself. Like, we already knew, but we officially see that Gerald has to go outside because the feds pull up to his house, and they ask him at that point, what can he give on Marvin? Or Gerald would be in Sing Sing. He would go to jail. So we knew he was a no good piece of shit. But, at this point, we don't know why he's doing this. Maybe he got caught, you know what I'm saying, with the H on him, and now he's trying to save himself, or he was just a piece of shit from the beginning. But either way, I'm wondering what's going to happen with Gerald, because he would be someone who would testify, I guess, against Marvin to a certain extent. But the only thing that he really, I guess, knows at this point, based on what we've seen, is that he was able to drop that type of money to save Gerald that night when those guys was holding him hostage. So I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. So then Juke goes to the military recruiter and asks if she can back out as far as the wanting to go into the military. We find out at that point that she actually signed the contract, so she can't. So it pretty much seems like Juke may be forced to go in even if she doesn't want to. So that may be the case with her, but we'll see. So the last scene that I actually really only care about, I think there may have been a scene before that, but the only one I care about is the badass scene with Rock and Juliana. And the dialogue in this scene was quite powerful. Whoever wrote it, I was impressed with this scene because I love what Rock said, and I love the fact that, Juliana was like, my cousin will have you. And Rock was like, he knows I'm here. And Juliana is like, well, I got some money. She tried to walk over to get money or whatever she was trying to get. Man, Rock sat up there and popped one in her knee. It was like, this is not about money. She was talking to her. She put that steel on the knee that she popped. I said, now this is some badass stuff. Now this is what I'm talking about. And baby, she said her last piece in the situation, and she wanted to make sure that Juliana would never return. She made sure she popped off left and right, both to the shoulders, both one to the head. I was like, okay, all right. See, this is why we watch Power. Like, that was the scene of scenes. So at that point, we know that Juliana is gone. And that means, of course, that Kanan and Ronnie are not going to have a certain connect for a certain amount of time. But there's definitely going to be a situation where maybe they're going to go to Stefano. Maybe they're going to go to Italian guy. Who knows? But I would say I would give this episode, I would say a B minus. And the only reason why is because of the ending. Without the ending, I would have gave it a solid C. It was just okay. But that ending, I don't know. It definitely gave me that moment that I needed to show the reason why Rock is who she is and why she has to be who she is, because she is a woman in this game. And that's one thing that they really have not broken down. Yes, we know Rock isn't shit, but at the same time, she has to play moves and she has to do things in a certain way, and she cannot let up because she is a woman in this business, in this male dominated business. So that's why she is the way she is. Now, the way she is when it comes to her family, that's something different. But the way that she doesn't let up when it comes to this business, there's a reason why. She's a woman. But with that being said, you guys let me know what you think about this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on my next video. Toodles.